With the Wii U eShop closing, I was hoping to find some buried treasure before it was too late. I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I show you the final 10 Wii U games.
Second Opinion Games.
Number 10, Dying is Dangerous. Well, the game starts off with a full motion video. That's a good sign, right? Well, the whole thing is sort of like Simon, where you have to run from left to right, pressing the buttons as your boyfriend commands you to, because he's a controlling a-hole. And when you do so, well, then you'll just put into another scenario where you have to do the whole thing over again. It's done with a black and white style that's very cartoonish. It's a fairly passable game in a time where the Wii U had a huge drought of video games, so I picked it up and I had myself an okay afternoon with it. Number 9, Seasonal Assistant. This is a Christmas-themed version of Sinister Assistant that the dev team that made this game released a couple months prior. It's a very solid game done in a Zelda 1 style where you run around, try to clear rooms, move to another room, and pick up power-ups along the way. There are also huge boss battles. You don't have to find a dungeon to go into because every level is broken up essentially their own dungeon. There's no puzzles to solve here, it's just a shoot 'em up great game, even though that Christmas music will slowly drive you mad as you play it. Probably you should have picked up the Sinister Assistant instead. However, this is a game that was certainly worth your $2. Number 8. Stromfront. If you wanted a great twin-stick shooter, well, this is definitely your game. I believe you could still pick this one up on the Nintendo Switch, and I recommend every single person does because it's like a hardcore rock and rollin' Jesus killathon where, yeah, your guy is supposed to be some type of mecha Jesus brought back from the dead to kill space aliens and other robot creatures that try to attack you, and you could use lots of different powered-up weapons, most commonly your spread shot, which they made that the common weapon of the game. How genius is that? But your other weapon is a freaking flamethrower, which sometimes you have to use to destroy enemy-generating pods. Now, eventually, flamethrowers run out of gas, and you tend to run out of gas quite quickly, so make sure you pick up all of the extra fuel on the screen as often as you could find it, or maybe save it for later because you're really gonna have to focus in on all the bullets, because it's also sort of a bullet hell shooter. If the arcade game Total Carnage wasn't gruesome enough for you, well then this is definitely your game. I ranked it in the top 30 downloadable Wii U games of all times, so just like in my love life, I think this video just peaked too soon. Number 7. Captain U. This was another game made by Ultra Dolphin Revolution. They made that sinister seasonal assistant game that I talked about earlier, and this was designed to be a love letter to the Wii U. And other than the dumbed down graphics, I think they pretty much nailed it. It's a 2D action platformer game that's sort of similar to a shoot 'em up, as your character moves ninja stars off of his Wii U tablet to destroy enemies on the screen. There's also a crap ton of puzzle solving elements here that require you to use the Wii U touchpad in order to fulfill, everything you need to do to get to the finish line, and maybe even take out a few boss battles along the way. When it originally came out, it was full of glitches, and I did a full review of it, but then later they released an update that fixed everything. Now the game runs beautifully smooth with no glitches at all, and I really love coming back to this. Captain U was designed for the Wii U, that's where it will stay, and that's where it remains one of the best games. Number 6. RTO 3. Yeah, they made 3 of these games. It stands for Reptilian Takeover, which there are reptile-like humanoid things on this spaceship that you have to navigate your way through, and you use the Wii U gamepad to, have a map and also north, south, east, west, and you have to find which door to go through. Also, you could shoot a bunch of aliens, but you don't really need to. Matter of fact, I cleared like 5 or 6 levels of this game just by running through the levels as fast as possible without taking a single shot, which is what you almost have to do because they don't give you enough ammunition to kill the creatures on this game. And there's a strict time limit. Now, killing all the enemies does increase your time limit, but sometimes it doesn't increase them fast enough to, let you get to the end of the level. So just run as fast as you can. away from this game because it is super boring. I hated every second of it. It was also a 3DS port. Number 5. Spada Time, another 2D action platformer with a couple of gimmicks thrown in here because it is a Wii U game. Of course, you can travel through time, so you could go to the past, present, or future, and that will determine how you progress your way through the game. You're gonna have to use these mechanics in order to, get to different platforms to jump on to get to the exit. And also, you could use your Wii U gamepad to sort of shift the whole environment, so then you could maybe move a dump truck out of the way. You only do it like 3 times through the entire game though, so it becomes pretty much useless, and it always tells you when you could shift either the screen or the whole time travel thing in general. I wish they could have done it at any point in time, but that wasn't the direction they took. What's really cool about the game is that at any point in time, you can switch to the bottom half of the tablet up to the screen, where it's sort of like a Game Boy game, and I freaking love the Game Boy aspect. However, this whole game is very unbalanced. The first level of the game, which is essentially a tutorial, is one of the 6 levels in the entire game, and the final level is a boss battle. Very disappointing because I wanted much more of this. Also, level 3 is like the hardest level of the freaking game where you get lost all over the place. And then it goes back to really simple dumbed down levels. I do believe it was worth the $5 price tag I paid for it, but if you could get it cheaper, well, you pretty much have to now, don't you? Because the Wii U eShop is long gone. Number 4. Shadow Archer Special. As you can see, this is by the same developer as Captain U and some of those other games I talked about, and it was a $2 release. Why is this so cheap? Because it's just a single level where just tons of enemies cram on down, and you have to take them out. Now, when you do take them out, you could earn more extra arrows, which eventually you do run out of your standard arrows. I absolutely hate it when games do this because they're just your standard pea shooter. Why not make them infinite, for God's sakes? However, they do give lots of power-ups here and some power-up arrows, which are sometimes used to kill specific enemies on the screen. I kind of love it when video games do this because it adds different challenge and different replayability factors. However, do you want to keep on replaying this? Because it never seems to get out of the same screen, or at least I never was able to. There is some type of wizard that cracks down, and then you have to try and take him out. However, all my shots don't seem to hurt him at all, and I was never able to clear past this level. So I think it's a high score game. And again, I'll take a pass. Number 3, Cosmic Ball, a game that was originally developed for the 3DS, so that means that you had to use both screens interchangeably. So your main character could be on the bottom screen, and you also have to sort of keep an eye on the top screen to figure out where to go. And also that means that jumps, sometimes you're going to be following it from the top screen down to the Wii U tablet, and it makes the game a lot more fun than it needs to be. You pick up the ability to jump along the way, and do some other stuff like add in puffs of air for some reason, and run a little bit faster. There's lots of platforming goodness to be had here, but sadly, no sound effects whatsoever. It's just really calm music that is unfortunately calm, because the game itself ends up being quite frustrating, but not too frustrating because you could always put down a spawn point where almost wherever you think it deserves to be. So this game's actually quite good, even though it's very simple and hard to record to show you guys exactly what the heck's going on. Okay, at this point, this video is getting a little bit too bland for me. I'm tired of looking at games that are just sort of average, so how about I throw some honorable mentions in here, even if they weren't towards the end of the Wii U's life cycle. Like Mutant Mud's Super Challenge. This is a game where you could jump in and out of the foreground and shift your directions, and it's one of the hardest games I ever played. Super Challenge? Yeah, that is correct. I cannot stop dying in this one. Still keeping with the shifting theme, we have Mighty Switch Force, a game where you play as a female cop. I know that sounds silly because it kind of is, and you have to stop the Hooligan Sisters from escaping their prison and take out lots of monsters along the way. At first, you might feel like this is just an action platformer game with block shifting elements, but at its heart, it is a true puzzle game, and the puzzles do end up getting rather devious rather quick. So be prepared to die many a times by being slammed hard with giant blocks. And because you have to sideload any of the games I talked about today if you didn't already have them, how about Kickin' Furnick, a game that was pulled off the Wii U eShop a long time ago, and this is a game where a kid finds a giant gun and uses it to jump and double jump alongside a robot friend. I love how time seems to slow down as you aim your weapon, which means that the whole game is playable. If it did not do this, this whole game would be a wreck. But as it is an action platforming masterpiece. Now let's get back to our final two crappy downloadable games. Number 2, Silver Falls Undertakers. Well, first of all, I am blown away by the Atari 2600 feel of this game. You can only carry one thing at a time, so make sure you pick up the right thing, whether it's wood to throw on the fireplace, or maybe even bandages to heal up someone who fell down a hole. Matter of fact, I think about the only way to get in the hole is by coming across this giant shadow spider who you think is going to kill you, but just sort of drops you down holes, sort of like E.T. style. Matter of fact, I'm starting to get an E.T. vibe of this entire game. It does tell a really cool story with little Easter eggs hidden all throughout the game, but my god, what the heck is this game supposed to be? This was a modern game meant for modern players, but at least they did throw in something really cool here with Survivor Versus, where you get to pick the different characters in a 3D style overhead map, and there's one person using the Wii U tablet to drop enemies down on the screen. You could play up to like 5 players here, and this ends up being a terrific but slightly glitchy experience. I kind of recommend picking up the game just for this little side quest that turned out to be the main game for me. Number 1, the major swan song of the Wii U, Silver Falls White Inside Its Umbrella. The main story here has to be beaten in a single seating, so there's no save files whatsoever going on. Now, this might get really annoying to you if you don't have 4 hours of your life to kill, or even less if you happen to know what the heck you're doing. You get into this experience where it has a super creepy atmosphere, and you almost have to use the Wiimote and nunchuck to get around. This means that the controls are very weird. Sometimes I could not control my character looking left and right in any way, shape, or form. You also have to use the tablet sometimes to turn on a metal detector or to find something nearby. There's also weird little apps like mini games and driving games, and even tapping a stinking pony for some stupid reason. The main game here is, well, not very good. Maybe it controls better for you, but it didn't for me, and I was frustrated the whole time. But instead, it also comes with a light gun game where you can mow down all these enemies until you run out of ammo, and then it becomes ungodly frustrating where you can't even beat the first level of the game without running out of ammo. If you have a pea shooter, just give us unlimited ammo so we can kill all of the critters and then upgrade to more guns that actually have limited ammo. This is a complete disaster of a light gun game. Quite frankly, I'd rather be playing the Wii U version of Duck Hunt than this light gun shooting game. So how was the last 10 games overall? Well, there was a handful of okay ones, one truly great one, and a couple of complete letdowns and disappointments. But of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it, and I want to know what your favorite Wii U game was ever. I'm having a hard time coming up with my top 10 list myself, so maybe I'll take a couple of you guys' suggestions. Make sure you hit that like, leave me a comment, I read every single one, and subscribe, because I'm getting very close to 10,000, and I just want to be over the edge. So until later, I will see you again, guys.